comes the groove. Ready? Oh, yeah. Check out that bass guitar. Woo! It's burning. How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. Welcome back to Groovy Thursdays. We're at groove number 22, and this week's groove is a monster groove from Jean-Luc Ponty. The record is called Cosmic Messenger, and the song is Egocentric Molecules. And the original drummer, after that whole mouthful, the original drummer on that tune is Mr. Casey Scheuerell, a monster player, fantastic musician, and I'm just excited about this groove. So let's get into it. Groove number 22, Egocentric Molecules. Let's go. Now, in my early teens, probably, 12, 13, up to 17, 18, and I mean, up to my adult years too, don't get me wrong. But back then, fusion, jazz fusion was a huge part of my life. I was deep into so many different bands and players and musicians. Jean-Luc Ponty, I was a huge fan of Jean-Luc Ponty because not only is he an amazing musician, of course, played with Frank Zappa and all the fantastic records he's made, he's always surrounded himself with incredible musicians. His bands were on fire from the early on in his career, well into, even to this day, and just awesome stuff. So back then, I just followed all the drummers in his bands, and Casey Scheuerell was one of those drummers I followed. He was just the pocket, the feel, it just fit this style of music so well, Casey's played with all kinds of artists throughout his career, and he's been a professor at the Berklee College of Music for many, many years now. He's a great educator and just a student of the craft, and he's on fire on this record. Let me quickly say right here, if you dig what's going on here at Groovy Thursdays, that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with all your friends, bring on the comments, the questions, the suggestions for future grooves, and with that, let's get into groove number 22. First off, if you've never heard this record or this song, go to Spotify or to YouTube, wherever you stream your music, or, go buy the record, the Jean-Luc Ponty record, Cosmic Messenger. Check out the whole record if you want to hear some fantastic playing of every instrument. Casey is a monster all throughout, but so are the rest of the guys that play on this record. It's just a super cool listen and lots of things to learn from. Now, this particular tune, Egocentric Molecules, is really just a jam, okay? It has a head, then some solos, and then you go back to the head again and that kind of thing, and it's all about just expression of the particular instrument. There is a main pattern, and we'll go through that in just a second, but what I encourage you to do is once you get the main pattern down is to take it all over the place. Try to keep the bass going and just improvise over the top of it. Take the pattern to other parts of your kit. Definitely go to the ride, go to your china, open the hat, go to your stack cymbal. If you check out this tune, you'll hear Casey do this exact thing. He starts it on the hi-hat, goes to the ride cymbal, uses the bell on the upbeats. He takes it to the china at the end of the song. When he goes to the china cymbal, it is just absolutely on fire. I definitely encourage you to do all of that. And there's a few things about this groove that make it a tiny bit easier to improvise with. Let's first talk about the snare. You hit the snare on 2 and 4, a normal backbeat with not too much ghosting going on in the main groove. When you morph it into other things, you can do all kinds of stuff in the ghost strokes. But the main pattern is just backbeat. And what's cool about that, it's very busy groove, it's very energetic, but if you get specific with how you hit that backbeat, make it fat and make it sound perfect every time. Nice big rim shots with the volume being the same. See if you can get specific with that kind of thing. And I think you'll really dig if you dive into the practice of that. It's a fun thing to get into to see how consistent you can be with hitting that backbeat. In the main groove, you're playing on the hi-hat, and it's just back and forth between the hands. Right, left, or if you're left-handed, opposite, left, right, left, right, left, right. You know what I'm saying? So, but there's no in-between stuff. There's no doubles. There's nothing like that. It's just back and forth. And you think of like an old school sort of disco beat where you're just playing. That's all this groove is, just sped up a little bit. And what's cool about it is, in that hi-hat pattern, you can really use the hi-hat as its own instrument because you could take it so many places. You're playing the hi-hat really tight and crisp. You open the hi-hat a little bit. Where you make the accents, do you open the hi-hat just a tiny bit and go tss, or do you open it big and go tsh, that kind of stuff? Or do you play the hi-hat? There's so many ways to take it, and it's an amazing piece of your drum kit that you can morph into so many different volumes and sounds with just two cymbals closed together, and the pressure you use to close the cymbals, all that kind of stuff. And this is a great groove to practice that. Now let's get to the kick drum pattern. It's pretty simple. You play right on the downbeat, beat 1, and then the most important part, I think, of this groove is the double that happens on the last two 16th notes of beat 2. The first two beats sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, ch, ba boom, ch, boom, ch, ba boom, ch, 1, 2, and right? The and. What's fun about this is that you want to get real specific with that double and get into the zen of learning how to play a perfect double on those two 16th notes. It's great training for your kick drum foot. Then after that, you put a kick drum on the and of 3 with the backbeat on 4. That's pretty typical. You repeat that 3 times. Then on the 4th bar, there's just one tiny change. You add one other kick drum just after the 4th beat on the second 16th note. Altogether, that last bar, bar number 4, sung out sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, cha ba boom, boom, cha boom, boom, cha ba boom, boom, cha boom, boom, cha ba boom, boom, cha boom, boom, cha ba boom, boom, cha boom. I love singing this stuff out. So these are typical patterns. It's just the attitude you play it with. Another cool thing about the hi-hat and the kick drum. The hi-hat is basically following the kick drum pattern, and you're accenting those kick drum notes with your hi-hat. When I was talking about closing the hi-hat really tight, playing the really short stabs when you open the hi-hat or the open ones, you play those little percolating bits of the hi-hat, like we talked about, with your kick drum hits. Now this groove is right around 140 BPM in 4/4, so no weird time signature stuff. 140 is a good clip. What's cool about this groove is that you can slow it down to 90, 100 BPM and play it as a slower R&B, hip-hop-esque, old soul music groove quite easily. It fits that perfectly. So if you got to slow down a little bit, play it like that. Get specific with those backbeats on 2 and 4. Work on that double, and then just speed it up a little bit. And then when you get to 140, you'll just be rocking because it's so much fun to play there. And then when you improvise at that tempo, man, it's super energetic. In my demo, I played the first half with the hi-hat pattern. You can hear how I open and close the hi-hat with the kick drum beats like we talked about. Then the second half, I go over to the ride cymbal, kind of like the way Casey does in the song. I'm playing upbeats on the ride cymbal, but I'm still doing the exact same kick drum and snare patterns. You can also think of the kick and snare pattern as an ostinato. Boom, ka, boom, 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 ka, boom, ka, boom, 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 ka. Do that back and forth. And just try different things with your left and your right hand. Your left and your right hands. And if you got to start simple by just playing quarter notes with the right hand, do that. It's all about getting into the weeds with the specificness of the double on the kick drum, the specific sound of the snare on the backbeat. It's a zen thing when you practice. And once you get into it, if you do it a few times, it's not boring at all. When you kind of listen specifically. Record yourself, film, like I asked you to do with all these grooves, film yourself playing the groove and listen back and see if the sound is fluctuating loud, soft, and how consistent you are. I also want to encourage you to practice this with a metronome because you're going to want to do some fills at the end of the 4th bar to get you back around to 1, that kind of thing. And you want to make sure you get back around to that 1 in time. So if you practice with a metronome and you do a fill, you'll be able to hear pretty quickly if your fills are dragging or rushing. And really, most of all, just have fun with this groove. It's a lot of fun to play, and the energy is so uplifting and just a blast. And there you go, groove number 22 from the Jean-Luc Ponty record, Cosmic Messenger. The song is Egocentric Molecules, and the original drummer is Mr. Casey Scheuerell. I really encourage you to check out this whole record, dive deep into it, because there's fantastic drumming all the way throughout. And come back next week for groove number 23. Have a great week, everybody. Cheers.